Hello everybody, welcome to my first episode of Kimberly Does Everything. I'm naming my new program Kimberly Does Everything because I'm kind of a little bit of maybe a narcissist or something, because I think that I can literally do everything or anything. So the first episode that we're going to have of Kimberly Does Everything is going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cook some Texas chili. Now this is important because I don't know any other kind of chili, but this is some Texas chili only because it's made in Texas by a Texan, me. So the first thing we're going to have is we're going to gather some supplies. And like other cooking shows, I've kind of gathered some of those supplies for you. So the first thing we have is about a pound and a half of some chunked up boneless country pork shoulder ribs, okay? So these I got at Costco, and then I split them out and I froze them, and then I thawed these out and I chunked them into some good little bite-sized cubes. They're maybe like about, like a centimeter cubes, maybe a little bit bigger, just whatever you can do because it's chili, and how we cook is we just do whatever we can do. Also, I have here a tray of some other ingredients that are delicious. We've got some onion. We've had purple onion on hand, so that's what we use. Yellow onion is actually probably going to be a little bit better, but that's what we had, so that's what we chopped up. Some onion, just chop them into fine onion stuff. And then we have some bell pepper, and then I got some poblano pepper also. Now, one of the interesting things that we're doing since we're in the apocalypse right now is we've saved these seeds, these ends here, and we're actually going to plant these. We've got some seedlings going right now. This is April 19th, and we've already started some seedlings for the apocalypse. We're already growing some bell pepper, but we got these poblano peppers for the chili today, so we're going to do that. Here's an avocado that we just planted today. Also, we're going to use some canned crushed tomatoes. If you want to cook some fresh tomato, I highly encourage that. I've done it before, but if you want some quicker chili, then this is the way to go. Crushed or diced tomatoes, stewed tomatoes maybe. This is some no salt added tomatoes. It's just whatever you have on hand. And then also we're going to need some hatch green chili. These are already diced. We've got a big can. We're going to need some more green chilies in this. I also have a can of black beans. This brand is Goya, but you can use whatever brand you have on hand or is cheapest at the supermarket. That's what I go for. So when I was growing up, my mom kind of always told me that, like some things were more quality, but you know what? Canned food is canned food, so just get whatever you can. Now, I'm halfway through my drink, but I highly suggest you, before you start your chili process, you get some alcoholic beverage. This is some Stolies and some club soda with some Mio in it, so it's calorie-free except for the potatoes. That's the vodka. And it's a really good, refreshing drink. This one has some ice in it. Just everything's better with Stolies, I guess. Okay, so now we're ready to start seasoning our oil. So we're going to go ahead and come in the kitchen. Welcome to the kitchen, folks. Okay, now I've still got my vodka drink with me. Number one important thing. Okay, now I just want to point out really quickly that we live in a really small apartment. We have just a little bit of space, if you can over here a little bit, and then we've got a little bit of space here. So, you know what? You don't need a big old fancy kitchen or any of that stuff to do whatever you can do, which is everything, obviously. So, I'm going to start out with this pot, which is, ooh, bless me. I'm going to start out with this pot, which is not the nicest pot. Also, you don't need the fanciest stuff in the world to start cooking. Okay. Now, in this little ketchup squirter bottle, which is pretty fancy, you don't have to have one, we've got what we call an 80-20 mix. It's 80% vegetable oil and 20% olive oil. Now, the reason we have some olive oil in here is because it burns, it doesn't burn at a higher temperature. So you can cook it hotter and it won't burn. So we're just gonna put some of that here. We're gonna douse the bottom of this pan kind of generously with this oil and go ahead and put our heat on somewhere around medium, okay? And now we're gonna start seasoning our oil. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some spices to our oil, and this is gonna, by doing this, we're going to season this oil, and that's gonna cause all of these beautiful flavors to infuse into our wonderful chili. So we've got some squeezed garlic here because we love that stuff. It's so convenient. We use kosher salt, but table salt, regular fine coarse salt works fine. I'm going to add just a little bit of liquid smoke. I've got some paprika, some ancho chili. Now, y'all, I do highly encourage, if you have this ancho chili at your local grocery store, to get some of it because it's got a little bit of a smoky flavor, but we've got the liquid smoke, so I guess it's not that important. I'm going to put a little bit of ground comino or cumin into my chili, some garlic salt, garlic powder, regular black pepper, onion powder, and of course some chili powder. Whatever brand you have is wonderful. So I've got this oil simmering a little bit on some medium heat. Just don't really want to add any more of that. And the first thing I'm going to put in here is some chili powder. Now there's two sides to the chili powder. There's this one with the hole, and then there's this one with the for the spoon. But I just take off the whole thing because I've got arthritis. Nobody's got time for that. So just put a whole bunch of chili in there. And then we're going to go ahead and put in some onion powder. Woo! Lots of people on cooking shows will tell you to put in like this amount of this or that amount of that, and that's all a bunch of garbage. You just put some in there. All these spices, as long as your spices love each other, they'll love you and they'll be fine. So I don't want to put any garlic salt in yet. I'm going to go ahead and put in this ancho chili. I'm going to use the rest of it because there wasn't that much of it. And we're just going to wait for that to start heating up. I'm going to grab one of these wooden spoons because I think wooden spoons are the best thing. And then I'm just going to start crushing some of these clumps. There were some clumps in here. And just start stirring this around with this oil. Okay. It'll kind of turn into this pasty looking stuff. Are we getting some heat? Yeah, it's cooking a little bit. Now, when you cook this, and this is a good way, if you're going to make anything like a curry dish or anything, this is a really, like, the best way to start with some oil, and then let your spices infuse into the oil, and that will, like I said, once you start putting your other ingredients in, that'll really make the day. So we're just going to keep that cooking until it's kind of hot. Might turn that, oops, wrong one. Might turn that up just a little bit. Oh, it smells good. And then, now it's heating up just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and, okay, I'm going to wrestle with this garlic, and then I'm going to throw some in there. This squeezy garlic. Oh, you can hear that start to go. Okay. Now, I'm going to, in a second, also add a little bit of butter to this, which, you know, a fat is a fat, and we've got some vegetable oil and some olive oil fat in here. Butter has a wonderful kind of flavor to it. Now, we don't want to cook this too much. I may have turned it up. Okay. And that looks good. Let's take that off the heat. Now, I personally think that if you have access to a gas range, that's probably better, but, you know, you do what you do with what you got. I think a lot of people worry too much about all that nonsense. So I'm going to put a little bit of butter into this oil compilation here. I may have to put a little bit more oil in it because it's just a little bit thinner than what I need. Where'd my oil go? So we'll put a little more oil in it. And now we're going to add our onions in here because we want to saute these onions in here in this wonderful oil. Let me get a knife. Y'all are just going to love this chili. It's going to be so great. You're not going to believe how easy it is to make wonderful Texas chili. Now, don't neglect your vodka drink over here. Go ahead and have some more of that because that shit's delicious, right? It really is. Okay, so now let's get this back on the heat. If you see here, when we start to throw these onions around, they get nice and covered. I think I might add a little bit of water in there. My spices got a little bit gummed up, and I don't want to put too much fat into this recipe because that's just no good. So we're just going to take in a little bitty bowl, any bowl that you have handy, and we're going to just take some water and throw a little bit in there. Okay, that's good. Not too much, just enough to get things kind of a little bit wet. That looks better. There we go. And now we're gonna wait for these onions to start cooking a little bit. You see it starting to sizzle up a little bit. You want to keep this moving. Now this chili, the same if you do a curry dish, which if we stick around with doing everything long enough, we'll get a curry dish in here too. But you don't want these spices to burn. So you kind of want to keep them moving a little bit. Okay. I'm not too worried about these vegetables getting fully cooked before we add more vegetable because we are going to let this chili simmer for about an hour to marry those spices. There's the bell pepper. Now we're going to put all this beautiful poblano pepper in there. I wish y'all could smell this. It just smells so delicious in our kitchen already. Okay. Pieces go onto the counter. Okay, and we're just going to stir these in here till everything's covered in spice. There we go. It has a wonderful chili smell. Put a little more water in there. For those of you who are vegetarian or vegan, you might just want to let this cook for a little bit and then start adding in some beans. And I wish we had kidney beans. Normally I put kidney beans in, but we don't have them, so we're not going to put them in today, and we're not going to worry about it. It's still going to be chili. Welcome back. I took about a 10-minute pause because there's no sense in watching me cook this little brew that I have going for 10 minutes. But basically, I've just been standing here making sure that I stir this over medium heat. And if you can come and take a look at it, it's just cooking down a little bit. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some salt in and some paprika again. Well, I may have to have assistance. So don't let it get too stagnant. We're going to add in some salt. I like this coarse kosher salt. And if you'll just kind of spread it all over there, that should be about enough for now. We'll stir that in. And now that this has been cooking and really simmering and these vegetables are not all the way soft but kind of getting there, we're going to add the meat in. So we have this pile of pork, and we're just going to put it right in there. That should cool our food down a little bit. And then we want to make sure that we cook this until this pork is pretty well done. Like I said, we're going to let this simmer, because one of the most important things about chili is letting the flavors get married to one another, you know. First, so let's add some paprika. Just put some in there. I know all these other shows that you watch tell you to put like a certain amount, but man, I don't got time for all of that. Just put some on there. Stir it around. Now, we're also going to go ahead and put in a little bit of smoke. Now, when you're cooking with liquid smoke, and this is a hickory version of liquid smoke, a little dab will do you. And when I say a little dab, I mean we're going to make this big old pot of chili, and a little dab will do you. So this, we're going to turn it over, and I'm going to do about 2 squeezes, okay? So however much that would be, 1 and 2. And that's all the liquid smoke we're going to use in this recipe. Okay, because we've got that ancho chili in there. If you like your stuff really smoky, you could put a little more, I guess. So now that have the meat in the pot, we can let it sit for a little bit longer between stirring. The 10 minutes or so that we had the camera off, I was pretty constantly stirring. Okay, now we can also add a little bit of cumin. Again, kind of just enough. A little cumin is a very, or if you're from Texas, you might call this comino. Comino is a very, very strong flavor. So it's something that, again, like the liquid smoke, a little dab will do you. So we're just going to kind of cover everything a little bit with it and call it a day. Okay, so I'm giving that another little stir. Now, since this is pork, I can kind of see that it's turning a little bit white. Pork is a white meat, so when it cooks, it gets that nice white color on it. And conveniently, I've had my vodka drink refilled. It's magic, folks. So don't forget to drink your vodka drink. Okay. Welcome back, my pretties. We have been stirring this chili again for about another 5 minutes. Not too long. In the meantime, while we've been stirring up this chili, letting it cook, I've also been opening my can of tomatoes. I've got 3 cans of tomatoes, 1 crushed, 1 stewed, 1 petite diced, whatever you have. I would use something a little more substantial than tomato paste, but any tomatoes that you have, or fresh tomatoes, will do also. So I'm about ready to put all that stuff in. So if you'll come and look, my handy cameraman, you can see here where our beef, our pork, I mean, is starting to look all the way a little more white. So it's definitely getting cooked. So it's time now to add our other ingredients. And now that our pork is safely cooked, we can kind of just dip our spoon in there and safely take a taste that's a little bit salty. And now we can start to, as they say, season to flavor. You hear that all the time, season it to flavor. And that's what that means. What do you like? I'm going to go ahead at this point and put in some black pepper. This seems maybe like a lot of crushed black pepper, but it's really not because of this grinder. It's all I have. And I can't think of any more. I told you just a second ago that cumin is a very prominent spice, but I'm going to go ahead and, because I can't really taste much of it, and put in a couple little thwacks of that. Not too much, because like I said, it is a hearty, prominent spice. So let's just stir all that in, and now we're going to go ahead and start putting in our canned items. Our canned items can go in last because they're not as seasoned. So here I have some diced green chilies, and I'm going to go ahead and throw them in with all their juices. There's 1 can. Just beat that on the side there. You can take your spoon if it'll fit, yeah, a little bit in there. And we have 2 cans of those Hatch green chilies, or whatever green chilies. Hatch is a brand name. Hatch, New Mexico is an actual town in New Mexico. It's on the border of Texas and New Mexico, and that's actually where Hatch green chilies come from. But Hatch is just a brand of chilies. It's not like I don't think anything. They want to tell you that something makes them special, but I don't really think they do. But you can get a green chili burger in Hatch, Texas that is actually pretty good. Okay. All right, y'all see, I hope what I'm trying to accomplish with these videos is to show everybody that it doesn't take somebody special or anything special to make all this stuff that you see on TV. There's 1 can of tomatoes. Let's take, that was our petite dice. Let's take our stewed ones. And we're just gonna throw in all of that. We'll have some different tomato textures. And then we have some crushed ones as well. Give it a little juice. So by the time we get all of this tomato in, this is definitely going to dilute my salt, which I did add a little more than I would have liked earlier. Now, these Goya black beans did come in a liquid, and I did just drain them out. I just drained them out with my hand like that, because we're not into fancy stuff here in our kitchen. And now we're kind of stuck there in the can. That looks pretty good. Let me rinse my hands off real quick. Don't forget your vodka drink, my pretties. Okay, so we're gonna take a drink. It's just so good. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and stir all these ingredients together. Okay, see our chili coming together. Oh man, oh, that looks so good. So some of these crushed or stewed, tomatoes, if you want to try to crush them into smaller bits, you can. Otherwise, that's going to be wonderful. And we've just got it over our heat. We've got it on medium heat. What we're going to do now is we need to bring this chili up to boil, and then we're going to turn our heat down to low, and we're going to let it sit for an hour. And that's as easy as it is to make chili.
There you go.
Welcome back, my pretties. It has been 1 hour. The timer finally went off, and we are ready to dish up this chili. So hang tight with me. Follow me right here. I've got my, I've got some bowls right here. We're just going to use a kind of a smallish one. And we are going to make this chili so fancy and beautiful. So if this is for guests or whatever, you can do it this way. Otherwise, just dish this stuff right up and serve it. Now, we're going to want to stir it up a little bit. I've been stirring it again every maybe 10 minutes. We're going to put a couple of spoonfuls here in our little bowl. Now, this chili is very filling, so remember that a little goes a long way. So here you see we've got our bowl of chili. I'm going to clean off the edge there just a little bit. And to really pretty it up, we're going to start out by adding some fancy shredded cheese. which I have in a bowl. You can shred some cheese on your own if that's what you have available, or not add cheese at all, especially if you're lactose intolerant. So we're just going to put a little bit of cheese on top there, and then a dollop. Now, a dollop is something that they say, I don't know if you've heard of a dollop of daisy, which is the sour cream that we're using. It's just like a little heaping spoonful of it, and we're just going to put it right on top, about like yay so. A little bitty dollop of some sour cream, and then I'm going to put some fresh jalapenos on mine because we really didn't make this chili very hot. And that's going to be a day, folks. And now this red chili is ready for 11 spoonfuls. So we're going to put a spoon right in it, and then we're going to give it a taste. And stir up some of our cheese and our sour cream with it. Get a bite of this hot pepper. Mmm. Oh man. That is some good chili, y'all. So now, pro tips, make sure that if you're going to use some liquid smoke, which is optional, don't use too much of it. It's very salty. And then add salt in slowly. This chili actually turned out maybe a little bit salty for my liking. So it just goes to show the importance of being very, very careful with your salt, because you can always add more. You can't take any out. So thanks for joining me on Kimberly Does Everything. And we will see you again next time where we try something else, because obviously we can do anything. Thanks.